I used to believe family meant safety. I believed money was just numbers on paper. I learned I was wrong about both. When the trouble started, I did not see it as danger. I saw it as stress. Bills were rising. The family business was growing fast, and everyone was excited. I worked long hours, trusted easily, and asked few questions. He handled the money. Everyone said he was good with numbers, calm and smart. I believed them. First, small things felt off. Payments came late. Some suppliers complained. When I asked simple questions, I was told not to worry. I was reminded that I was not in charge of the accounts. I accepted that. I focused on my work and stayed quiet. I did not know silence could become a weapon used against me. One evening, the family gathered. The mood felt heavy. No one smiled. I was asked to sit. Papers were placed on the table. Bank statements. Printed emails. My name was mentioned again and again. They said money was missing. They said transfers were made from my access point. They said trust was broken. I tried to speak, but fear froze my voice. Everyone was already looking at me differently. That was the night blame found me and stayed. The days after that meeting moved slowly, like time was thick. People stopped calling me. Messages went unanswered. At work, eyes followed me. Whispers grew loud enough to hear. He stayed calm through it all. He spoke gently to everyone. He said he felt hurt but wanted peace. That made them trust him more. I replayed everything in my head. I checked my memories like broken glass. I knew I had not touched the money. I knew I had not made those transfers. Still, the papers looked real. The numbers lined up too well. I felt small in front of them. I asked to see the accounts. I was told it was not necessary. I asked to speak with the bank. I was told to wait. Waiting became my punishment. Each day the story grew without me. Each retelling painted me darker. What hurt most was not the loss of money. It was how quickly love changed into doubt. Family meals stopped. Doors closed softly when I walked past. He stayed in control of the accounts. I stayed under suspicion. Night I could not sleep. I stared at the ceiling and wondered how truth could feel so weak. I thought about shouting. I thought about fighting. Instead I stayed quiet. I did not know yet that silence would give me time to see clearly. Silence made people comfortable. My quiet made them sure. They took it as proof. I noticed how relaxed everyone became once I stopped asking questions. That scared me more than anger would have. He moved freely, paid bills, and made promises using the same money they said I stole. I started writing things down. Amounts. I remembered small moments that once felt useless. Late-night call. A rushed signature. A transfer made on a holiday. I did not accuse. I observed. I listened. Silence sharpened my eyes. I learned how the accounts worked. I read old files I still had access to. Compared patterns. The same numbers appeared again and again, moving in circles. The money never truly vanished. Traveled. One night, I overheard a conversation. He laughed softly while talking about an upcoming purchase. It was expensive. Too expensive for someone who claimed loss hurt him. That was when anger settled into something colder. I did not want revenge yet. I wanted truth. The family praised him for holding things together. They said he was strong. They said I should learn from him. He nodded. Inside, I promised myself I would not rush. Lies move fast. Truth waits. Weeks passed and pressure grew. A bank review was announced. Everyone panicked except him. He said audits were normal. He said there was nothing to fear. I watched his confidence closely. It did not reach his eyes anymore. I was called in for questioning. The tone was polite but sharp. I answered simply. I did not explain more than asked. I did not defend myself. That confused them. People expect fear from guilt. I gave them calm instead. After that meeting I felt lighter. For the first time I trusted the process more than people. I submitted records I had quietly collected. I did not add emotion. I added facts. Numbers spoke better than I ever could. Home tension cracked the walls. Conversations stopped when I entered. He avoided my eyes. The family avoided conflict. They wanted this to end quietly. They wanted comfort back. Late one evening, I received a message from the bank. It was short. They needed clarification. Not from me. From him. I did not smile. I breathed deeply. Silence had carried me here. I understood then that money leaves trails. And those trails do not care who the family loves. The truth did not explode. It unfolded. Slowly. Carefully. The bank requested more records. And more. His calm broke in small ways. His voice shook once. His stories changed slightly. The family noticed but said nothing. Denial is easier when it protects comfort. I stayed quiet even when I was invited to speak. I had already said enough with paper. The audit continued. Counts froze. Payments failed. Panic spread. He blamed stress. He blamed timing. He did not blame me anymore. One morning I was asked to come in. The room felt different. Chairs were closer. Voices were lower. The air was heavy with regret. They told me the transfers did not come from my access point. They never had. The system logs were clear. No one apologized right away. Shame makes people slow. I nodded and stood up. I did not feel joy. Felt steady. The lie had carried itself until it collapsed. Outside, the sun felt warmer than I remembered. My name was clean again, but something else was gone. Trust does not return with the truth. Stays broken. I walked away knowing one thing for sure. He controlled the money. He took the blame. But silence gave me the ending he never expected. The truth changed how people spoke to me, but it did not change how they felt. Their voices sounded kinder, yet their eyes stayed careful. I noticed the pauses before apologies. I noticed how blame faded without fully leaving. They wanted things to return to normal. I knew they never would. He stayed quiet now. The same man who once spoke for hours now avoided long talks. The accounts were locked, and his power was gone. Without money, he looked smaller. That scared him. I could see it in his posture and rushed steps. The family asked me to help fix the damage. They said it was only fair. I agreed, but on my own terms. I asked for full access to records. They hesitated, then agreed. Trust came late, but it came with limits. As I reviewed everything, I saw how long the lie had lived. Months, years. Small thefts hidden inside normal movement. The money paid for comfort, gifts, and silence. Some of it had benefited the same people who doubted me. That truth hurt the most. They were not just fooled. They were rewarded. At night, I wondered if speaking earlier would have helped. Then I remembered how quickly they judged me. Silence had not failed. It had revealed. The investigation deepened. New questions surfaced, and old answers fell apart. I was asked to explain patterns I had already seen. This time people listened. That felt strange. I spoke calmly and stuck to facts. I did not add feelings. I let the numbers guide them. He tried once to speak to me alone. He said it was a misunderstanding. He said pressure made him act badly. He asked for help. I listened but did not respond. I had learned that words were easy for him. Records were not. The family split into quiet groups. Some defended him out of habit. Others stayed silent, afraid to admit they were wrong. No one spoke openly about how fast they had blamed me. That silence felt familiar. The business slowed. Trust from outside partners weakened. Money problems became public. Shame followed. I was asked to step forward and represent us. I agreed again, but I kept distance. I helped rebuild systems, not relationships. I no longer needed approval. I needed peace. Each night I wrote everything down. I wanted no gaps. Lies grow in gaps. Truth needs structure. I was done being the empty space in their story. As weeks passed, consequences arrived quietly. Accounts were corrected. Funds were traced. Questions turned serious. He was called in more often. Each meeting left him more tired. Control had slipped from his hands, and he did not know how to live without it. The family tried to act united. They spoke of forgiveness. They spoke of moving on. No one asked if I was ready. Healing was expected from me, not from them. I noticed that pattern clearly now. One afternoon, a document surfaced that changed everything. Signature. Not mine. Not even close. It was rushed and careless. That mistake opened doors he could not close. The timeline snapped into place. The room felt heavy when it was reviewed. No one spoke. Some looked down. Others stared at him. He did not deny it. He only sighed. That sound carried years of lies. Felt no victory. Only clarity. The story was no longer about money. It was about choice. He chose himself. They chose comfort. Chose patience. When the meeting ended, I walked out first. For once, no one stopped me. I had carried blame long enough. I would not carry their guilt too. The fallout reached beyond the family. Partners demanded answers. Authorities requested files. The business faced penalties. Names were mentioned carefully. Mine was no longer one of them. Still I felt marked. Betrayal leaves stains that truth cannot fully wash away. He was removed from all roles. The same hands that once signed checks now had nothing to hold. I watched from a distance. I did not gloat. I did not speak. I had said everything already. Some family members apologized then. They said fear had guided them. They said money blinded them. I accepted their words without embracing them. Forgiveness does not erase memory. It only changes how you carry it. Focused on repair. I helped set rules, checks, and limits. Transparency became law. Silence became shared. No one would hold power alone again. That was my condition. At home, nights were still long. I replayed moments when love failed me. I wondered who I would have become if the truth never came out. That scared me more than what had happened. I learned that survival sometimes looks like surrender. But patience is not weakness. It is preparation. The final meeting was quiet. No anger. No shouting. Just facts laid bare. Decisions were made. Consequences followed. He left without looking back. The door closed softly, but it sounded loud to me. Afterward, the family gathered again. This time, no papers were placed in front of me. No accusations filled the air. They spoke of rebuilding trust. I listened but said little. I had learned that promises come easily after damage is done. When I left that night, I felt lighter than before. Not because I won, but because I no longer needed their approval. I had proven nothing to myself. I had survived. I walked alone, thinking about money and power. I understood now that money does not change people. It reveals them. When fear arrived, everyone showed who they were. I did not stay angry. I stayed aware. That mattered more. This was not the end of my story. It was the end of my silence being mistaken for guilt. I would move forward differently. Stronger. Wiser. He controlled the money. I took the blame. But in the end, truth collected its debt. Life did not return to normal after everything came out. Slowed. People spoke carefully around me, as if I might break. I did not. What broke had already broken before. This was just the sound of pieces settling. I stayed involved in fixing the business, but I no longer gave my whole heart to it. I worked with clear rules and short conversations. Trust was rebuilt with systems, not feelings. That was safer. Some family members tried harder than others. A few avoided me completely. Seeing me reminded them of their choices. I understood that. Guilt needs distance to breathe. At night, memories came back without warning. The meeting where I was blamed. The looks. The silence. I realized healing was not about forgetting. It was about standing firm in what I knew was true. I started planning my future quietly. I saved money in my own account. Kept records of everything. I learned from pain instead of running from it. People sometimes asked how I stayed calm through it all. I never gave a clear answer. The truth was simple. I had already survived the worst part, being alone while surrounded by family. After that, everything else felt manageable. The business slowly recovered, but relationships did not. Trust once broken does not heal evenly. Some days felt peaceful. Others felt heavy. I stopped expecting fairness from people and started expecting honesty from myself. One evening, a family member admitted they had known something was wrong but stayed quiet. They said they were afraid to lose comfort. Their honesty hurt, but it also freed me. I no longer wondered why silence surrounded my pain. I finally understood it. I did not argue. I did not accuse. I thanked them for telling the truth and walked away. Closure does not always come with apologies. Sometimes it comes with clarity. I spent more time alone then. I read, planned. I reflected. I stopped chasing explanations. What mattered now was what I built next. The money that once caused so much damage became less important to me. Control mattered more than wealth. Independence mattered more than approval. I noticed I laughed more easily when I was away from family. That truth surprised me. It also guided me. Pain had taught me boundaries. Silence had taught me patience. Betrayal had taught me value. I was no longer defined by blame. I was defined by survival. Time passed, and distance grew naturally. I moved forward without announcing it. Changed routines. I focused on work that belonged only to me. Each step felt earned. Occasionally, news reached me about him. Not details, just fragments. Struggles. Regret. I felt no joy in it. Revenge had never been my goal. Balance had been. I realized something important then. The truth did not destroy him. His choices did. I only stepped aside and let them speak. The family adjusted to a new normal without his control. Decisions took longer. Arguments happened more often. Without money as glue, cracks became clear. I watched from a distance, no longer responsible for fixing what I did not break. One afternoon, I reviewed old notes I had kept during the worst days. Reading them felt like meeting a younger version of myself. Someone scared but steady. Someone quiet but strong. I closed the notebook and put it away. I did not need proof anymore. Carried it inside me. My story was no longer about what I lost. It was about what I kept. My voice, my truth, my future. Forgiveness came slowly, and not in the way people expect. It did not mean forgetting or reconnecting. It meant releasing the need to be understood by those who chose not to listen. I stopped waiting for the right words from family. I stopped replaying moments where I wished I had spoken louder. Silence had carried me through, and I respected it now. I built new habits. I trusted slowly. Asked questions. I watched actions instead of listening to promises. Pain had sharpened my instincts. Sometimes I missed the idea of family more than the reality. That realization hurt, but it also healed. I learned that belonging should never cost dignity. The business continued without me at the center. That was fine. I had stepped out of survival mode and into choice. I no longer felt the need to explain myself. Anyone who wanted to know the truth could find it. I had stopped carrying it for others. Peace arrived quietly one morning without warning. I smiled and realized I had finally let go. Looking back, I understood how close I came to losing myself. Not to blame, but to bitterness. Silence saved me from that. It forced me to observe instead of react. I learned that money gives power, but character decides how it is used. I learned that family can fail you without meaning to, and still leave scars. I learned that truth does not rush. Wait. If I could speak to my past self, I would tell them this. Staying quiet was not weakness. It was strategy. It gave time, clarity, and proof room to breathe. I moved forward with calm confidence. My future no longer depended on anyone else's belief. I trusted myself fully now. The story people told about me had changed, but I no longer cared. I had rewritten my own ending. He controlled the money. I took the blame. But silence gave me something far greater, my life back. After everything settled, people expected me to relax. They thought the hardest part was over. They were wrong. The quiet after truth can be louder than lies. Give space for thoughts you once pushed away. Family gatherings felt different. Conversations stayed light, almost careful. No one mentioned the past, but it sat between us like an unspoken rule. I noticed who tried too hard and who stayed distant. Both reactions told me enough. I stopped attending some events. Not out of anger, but out of peace. I was learning to choose myself without guilt. That felt new and strange. Money no longer felt like security to me. I had seen how fast it turned love into fear. I focused on stability instead. Simple routines, honest work, clear limits. One evening I realized something important. I was no longer waiting for anyone to admit they were wrong. That need had quietly disappeared. I had outgrown it. Silence had changed me. It had made me observant, careful, and strong in ways I never expected. I was no longer reacting to the past. I was shaping the future. That was the moment I knew I was finally free. An unexpected message arrived weeks later. It was from a family member who had been silent since the beginning. They asked to talk. I agreed, but without expectations. We met in a quiet place. They spoke slowly, choosing words carefully. They admitted they doubted me but were afraid to speak up. Fear of conflict. Fear of losing comfort. Fear of standing alone. I listened without interrupting. Their honesty mattered more than their apology. When they finished, they asked how I survived it all. I told them the truth. I survived by letting go of the need to be believed. Once I did that, everything became clearer. They nodded, tears in their eyes. I felt compassion but not obligation. Understanding someone does not mean returning to the same place with them. We parted respectfully. I felt lighter afterward. Not because wounds healed, but because truth had finally been shared. That conversation confirmed something I already knew. Healing does not require everyone to change. It only requires you to. As time passed, I built a life that felt honest. My work reflected my values. My circle grew smaller but stronger. I trusted slowly and deeply. Sometimes I caught myself smiling at small things. Quiet mornings, clear plans, simple wins. I realized how much chaos I had lived in before without noticing. The past still visited me, but it no longer controlled me. When memories surfaced, I observed them like old stories, not open wounds. I learned to respect silence differently. Silence was no longer a shield. It was a choice. I spoke when it mattered and stayed quiet when it didn't. People sometimes asked if I missed the old days. I answered truthfully. I missed who I thought people were, not who they proved to be. That understanding brought peace. I was no longer searching for fairness in people. I was building fairness in my own life. News reached me again about him. This time it was final. Legal matters closed. Debts settled. Consequences completed their work. Felt nothing sharp. Just closure. I reflected on how long the truth had waited to be seen. Did not rush. Did not shout. It stood still until lies collapsed under their own weight. I realized my silence had protected more than my case. It had protected my character. I never became what they accused me of being. The family moved on in their own ways. Some grew wiser. Others repeated old patterns. I no longer felt responsible for their growth. One night, I stood alone and thought about everything I had lost, and everything I had gained. Strength was not loud. It was steady. I whispered a quiet thank you to the version of myself who stayed calm when everything burned. That version saved me. Looking ahead, I saw a future built on truth, not approval. I felt ready for whatever came next. Not fearless but prepared. I no longer feared blame. I no longer feared silence. I trusted my judgment fully now. That trust was earned. If someone asked me what I learned, I would say this. When money controls people, truth becomes dangerous. But when patience controls you, truth becomes unstoppable. I walked forward without bitterness. Carried lessons, not grudges. Carried clarity, not anger. My story was never about money alone. It was about choice. About who speaks, who listens, and who waits. He controlled the money. He took the blame. But silence gave me the power to walk away whole. The final season of healing surprised me. It was quiet and ordinary. No big moments. No dramatic endings. Just steady days that slowly felt safe again. I noticed how my body relaxed in places where it once stayed tense. I slept better, planned without fear. I trusted my instincts without second-guessing them. Family contact became occasional. Polite messages, short visits, boundaries held firm. I no longer felt the urge to explain my distance. Distance was part of my healing. I focused on growing something new, something untouched by the past. I built systems that protected honesty, kept records, asked questions. I trusted myself to walk away if things felt wrong. I learned that survival changes you, but it does not have to harden you. Can sharpen you instead. I had once feared losing everything. Now I understood that losing illusions was necessary. The worst part was over long ago. What remained was choice, and I chose peace. One day, I realized I no longer replayed the moment I was blamed. That memory had lost its power. It existed, but it no longer ruled me. I thought about how easily people believe what protects them. Comfort is persuasive. Money speaks loudly. Truth often whispers. I forgave myself for staying silent when I was accused. I stopped asking if I could have acted differently. I had acted exactly how I needed to survive. My confidence no longer depended on being seen as right. It depended on knowing I was honest. When people spoke about fairness or loyalty, I listened differently. I understood how fragile those words could be without action behind them. I carried lessons forward quietly. I did not announce my growth. I lived it. That felt like the truest victory. Time created distance, and distance created clarity. I saw my past without emotion clouding it. I saw mistakes on all sides, including my own. I had trusted too easily. I had ignored signs. But I had also endured without becoming cruel. That mattered to me. I stopped thinking of myself as a victim. I was a witness. I saw how power worked, how silence shaped outcomes, and how patience dismantled lies. When new challenges came, I faced them differently. I asked questions early. I trusted patterns, not promises. I learned that peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of clarity. That clarity stayed with me. Occasionally, someone would ask how everything ended. I answered simply. The truth came out. Life moved on. I did not tell the full story unless asked. I did not need validation anymore. My story belonged to me. I no longer measured people by what they said in hard moments. I measured them by what they protected. Money no longer impressed me. Control no longer tempted me. Integrity became my standard. I felt proud of the person I had become. Not because I was perfect, but because I stayed honest when dishonesty was easier. I had walked through blame without becoming bitter. That was my quiet success. Looking back, I saw how everything fit together. Silence gave me space. Patience gave me proof. Truth gave me freedom. I no longer feared being misunderstood. People will always choose what is easiest to believe. I accepted that. My future felt open and steady. Built on lessons earned the hard way. He controlled the money. I took the blame. But I kept my integrity, my peace, and my life. And that was everything.